Hey guys, it's me, Miss Norris, and today I'd like to share a fun read aloud with you of the story Bonjour, Mr. Satie. The story Bonjour, Mr. Satie was written in 1991 by Tomie DePaola, and it tells a fun story of art in Paris long ago. If you're ready to hear the story, I'm ready to share it with you. Here we go. Bonjour, Mr. Satie. And here on the cover, you can see that the Eiffel Tower, which is something that is in Paris, in France. And this story actually starts off before it's a story with a postcard. My dear niece and nephew, my traveling companion, Fortusque and I will be arriving from Paris very soon to spend the summer with all of you. What adventures we have to tell you about. Love, your Uncle Satie. So this postcard is addressed to Rosalie and Conrad, and they are the niece and nephew of Mr. Satie. And he and his friend are coming to visit for the summer and have lots of stories to tell. So you can see they're leaving France and going across the ocean to New York, where the Statue of Liberty is. And the Statue of Liberty is actually a gift from France. And then from New York, they're taking the train to Centerville. And from Centerville, they're taking a taxi to Conrad and Rosalie's home. There's the taxi pulling up. Ever since the postcard arrived from Paris, Rosalie and Conrad had been waiting for the arrival of their uncle, Mr. Satie, world traveler, and his companion, Fortusque Follette, Esquire. Every day they asked Mama and Papa when they would arrive. So their uncle is a world traveler, and it sounds like they've been really excited to see him and his friend Fortusque. Hello, Uncle Satie, cried Rosalie and Conrad. Hello, Mr. Fortusque Follette. Hello, everyone, cried the visitors, and they all hugged and kissed and went inside. Now, we're here, my dears, Mr. Satie said. Forty is going to cook us a fabulous French dinner. A special recipe from Alice and Gertrude, our dear American friends living in Paris, said Forty, and off he went to the kitchen. So Mr. Satie and Fortusque, who they call 40, have arrived. Everyone is happy. They have lots of luggage. And they say, and Mr. Satie says that his friend is going to cook them a really special French meal. What adventures did you have this trip, Uncle Satie? Rosalie and Conrad asked. Well, mes enfants, do you remember my friend Pablo, who painted that portrait of me in blue? Well, his new paintings are very different. They caused quite a stir in Paris this spring. Oh, tell us, cried the children. Well, it all began the Sunday we arrived in Paris. Forty and I were sitting in our favorite cafe when who should come along but... The kids want to hear about the adventures, and his first adventure begins with his friend Pablo, who painted him as a blue cat. Now, if you're not aware, there's a very famous painter named Pablo Picasso, and he liked to paint in this style. So I'm pretty sure that the Pablo that he is referring to is the Pablo in this story. It is the Pablo that's a painter, Pablo Picasso. Pablo, come join us. What have you been up to? Pablo was always up to something. Ah, Satie, Pablo said, I have been painting many things. I went from blue to pink, from pink to things African, and now my paintings show things from different sides all at the same time. Oh, goodness, Pablo, said 40. How daring! I can't imagine how they look. I must see your newest painting, said Mr. Satie. And you shall indeed you shall, said a large woman who had come up behind them. It was Gertrude, with her friend Alice. Nothing delighted Gertrude and Alice more than to bump into old friends. Come with us to the Rue de Fleur for our Sunday night gathering, Gertrude said. Tonight Pablo will show us his new work. Oh, please do, said Alice. So, Mr. Satie and Mr. Fortousk had just arrived in Paris. And who should they run into but their friend Pablo? And he says he's been working on lots of things. And then Gertrude and Alice come in and say, please, come, have dinner with us and show us your new work. All of Paris was interested in art. Gertrude's salon, for that is what the Sunday night gathering was called, was the place where the interesting people came to discuss interesting things. Everyone was glad to see Mr. Satie. Bonjour, Mr. Satie! The salon was already filled with people. How they talked, how they laughed, how they argued. So it's not just a gathering, it is called a salon. And all of these people are coming together, these interesting people are coming together to see interesting art and have interesting discussions. And everyone is interested in seeing Mr. Satie. Suddenly, everyone was quiet. Henri had come in. Oh, I'm sorry, Henri. Henri was a painter too. He looked a little like a bank clerk. Henri, said Gertrude. You are back from Nice so soon. Nice is in the south of France. Was Nice nice? Yes, Gertrude, Henri said. Nice was nice, and I did have some nice paintings in Nice. I have brought them to show you. Now, this is another very famous painter named Henri Matisse, and Henri Matisse painted around the same time that Pablo Picasso did. Pablo glowered. Oh, dear Satie, Forty whispered. I smell trouble. But I'm showing my new paintings tonight, said Pablo. Gertrude said I could. So they weren't expecting Henri to show up. And Pablo's not very happy about it. But they should do what I tell my kindergartners to do, is find a solution and get along. Pablo put his paintings against one wall. Henri put his paintings against the other. Everyone started talking at once, taking sides. Pablo is brilliant. Henri is boring, shouted one group. Henri is genius. Pablo is weird, shouted the other group. Oh, cried Alice. A duel, the Russian prince shouted. A prize fight, yelled the American writer. Call the gendarme, screamed Pablo's wife. Enough, bellowed Gertrude, and they all stopped at once. So they have shared the space, Pablo and Henri, and people are taking sides and saying, this one is better, no, this one is better. And Gertrude says, stop. She doesn't like the fighting. But what are they going to do? Because Henri and Pablo, they look mad at each other. And can't you like both of them? We shall have a contest, Gertrude announced. Pablo and Henri will hang their paintings in Monsieur V's gallery, and someone will judge them. Oh, but who will be the judge? asked the lady poet from England. Well, Fortus Follette spoke up, there is one among us who not only knows all about paintings, but is fair and honest and true. And that is my friend, dear friend, Mr. Satie. Yes, 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 said Gertrude, and everyone agreed. So Gertrude says, let's hang them all up in Monsieur V's gallery, and we'll have them judged. And people are like, ooh, you had me until we're going to get judged, because who can be fair? Fortus Follette says, my friend Mr. Satie, he's fair and honest. He can do the judging. And Gertrude, yes, yes, let's do that. All of Paris buzzed. All of Paris was interested. All of Paris held its breath. The day of the judging arrived. Gertrude and Alice, Pablo and Henri, and Forty accompanied Mr. Satie to the gallery. A huge crowd followed. Reporters from all the newspapers were there. Monsieur V greeted the crowd and led Mr. Satie inside. So this is kind of a big deal, and everyone is excited and wants to know what's going to happen and what Mr. Satie is going to say. And Mr. V is opening the gallery just to Mr. Satie and probably Fortus, but we'll see. So these ones we just look. Here's Mr. Satie looking at art. A chair with with maybe a hat sitting on it. Looking out the window at a beach with a little sailboat in the background. A window of a window. Another beach with lots of people. Some flowers in a vase. And then we have some, maybe an upside down person. Little body parts of all different kinds. Someone reading the newspaper, a guitar, and some people dressed up. And I can't say that I know a lot about art, but what I do know is that these paintings on this side probably are more in the style of Matisse, and the paintings on this side are definitely more in the style of Picasso. Picasso liked to break things up and show them in unusual different ways. Finally, Mr. Satie appeared at the door. Well, Satie? Gertrude asked. Oh, after careful consideration, said Mr. Satie, I have concluded that to compare Henri's paintings of Nice with Pablo's paintings of newspapers, guitars, and faces from all different sides would be to compare apples with oranges. Both are delicious, but taste totally different. Pablo's and Henri's paintings are also both delicious, but look totally different. I declare the contest a draw. A draw means equal. Oh, a tie. Excuse me. The crowd cheered. Viva Pablo! Viva Henri! Viva Mr. Satie! So Mr. Satie, after careful consideration, says, nobody can win because it's like comparing apples and oranges, and they're both good, but they're different. And so he says, I say that they are a tie, and everyone shouts, yay! Long live Henri, long live Pablo, and long live Mr. Satie. Gertrude and Alice gave Mr. Satie big kisses because he had saved the day. After all, they loved both Henri and Pablo. Pablo and Henri shook hands with each other and then with Mr. Satie. The crowd cheered and lifted Henri, Pablo, and Mr. Satie onto their shoulders and marched down the boulevard to the cafe, where they had a party. So Everyone is happy. They're lifting Pablo and Henri, and you don't see Mr. Satie in the air. Oh, and Mr. Satie up in the air. And they're all like a parade down the street, and they're going to go have a party at the cafe. So, you can see that art is alive and well in Paris, said Mr. Satie. Rosalie and Conrad clapped their hands. Dinner's ready, announced Forty, and they all went to the dining room and sat down to a delicious meal. And now, some presents, said Mr. Satie. Paint sets, shouted Conrad. From Paris, cried Rosalie. And tomorrow we will go out and paint together. So Uncle Satie says, don't worry, art's alive and well. Dinner is ready. They go to the dining room, and Uncle Satie has given them presents, little paint sets from Paris, like Rosalie pointed out, not painted out. And they're going to go out and paint together tomorrow. And every day for the rest of the visit, Mr. Satie, Rosalie, and Conrad painted their pictures. You can see, and it looks like Fortusk is bringing out refreshments, lemonade. They're painting houses and cats, vases with plants, kitties eating out of bowls in the desert. Every day. You can paint something new every single day. Oh, and here's a note. That's the end of the story. The end. But here's a little note from Mr. DePaola. During his lifetime, my good friend Mr. Satie traveled all over the world and had many adventures. I am honored that he chose me to pass them on to you. If some of the people he meets on his journeys look or sound familiar, I'm not the least bit surprised. Tomie DePaola. The end. Ladies and gentlemen, if you too enjoyed the story of Mr. Satie, please hit that thumbs up button at the bottom of the page. If you're already a subscriber, thank you so much for your support. It really means a lot to me. If you're not a subscriber yet, please click that subscribe button down at the bottom of the page. And don't forget to click the bell so that you're notified when there's new content. I hope to see you all again real soon. Oh, and if you enjoy stories by Tomie DePaola, please tune in every Wednesday and Friday in the month of June for a brand new story. I hope to see you all real soon. Bye-bye.